Welcome to Talking Giants presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, with my co-host, Justin Pennick. Got a big show. We got to do a little preview of the Browns game, our guys to watch. We got Dan Duggan, and we got to talk about the trades the Giants have made. Justin, how are you?
Bobby Skinner, I'm a little disheveled coming from the Bronx.
You said that word like 9 times tonight already.
We technically just started recording. So I said it to the Patreon to let them know I'm disheveled, and now I'm saying it to you, and I'm saying it to everybody that I am disheveled. And I'm coming from the Bronx, rushed home, because the studio there wasn't working for me, and I am disheveled. Now I've said it 17,000 times. I am happy. We're probably not. We don't usually talk about practice because we're not there and we're not getting a lot of clips. But I am happy that the Giants, in general as a team, looked pretty decent today. That areas in which we were worried about, offense and pass rush apparently looked good. And the Giants' offense apparently looked pretty decent today. And that has me feeling really good. That has me getting through this day. How are you?
I'm good. My eyes are messing with me, man. I need to stop looking at screens.
Tough.
Freaking this generation. It's like my eyes are just like burning for some reason.
Tough life for us.
Like I was in a chlorine pool. This episode was brought to you by Michael Kelly, who he owns and operates Kelly Ford in Melbourne, Florida, off US 1. Justin, who is this Ford dealership owner?
Is that true?
It could be, honestly. That's the guy's name that owns the Ford dealership in where I live. It's sure. Michael Kelly.
Okay. Michael Kelly went to patreon.com/talkinggiants. And if you go there, you have the chance to hear me say my emotions before the show a million different times, and then I will say it on air anyway. But you get to hear it before everybody else does when you go to patreon.com/talkinggiants. You get to hang out watch us while we record the shows live. You get to chat with us. Bobby will send you a magnet in the mail. And also, twice a month, there's some shirt raffles for a free Talking Giants shirt. Patreon.com/Talking Giants. Thank you to our patrons. We'll be live this Sunday after the preseason game.
All right, we're done begging for money. The Giants made some trades. So let's go with the big one first, and the one that's probably the most important. The Giants traded cornerback Isaac Yiadom. Don't get to mispronounce that name any further after this podcast.
Very excited.
For Josh Jackson. And this came after the Keion Crossen trade, which we'll talk about after this, which is a weird move to both. Like, they're both the exact same age. They're both 25 years old. They're both from the same draft class, so they're both in the last year of their contract. Josh Jackson was a second-round pick. Yiadom was a third-round pick. Neither one lived up to their draft slot. And just a player-for-player trade, which is, I kind of want to know, like, what the negotiations were like behind the scenes. Just trading a position for position. I'll read the advanced stats, and we could just kind of talk about it. And Josh Jackson, in 331 snaps, gave up 74% of passes, 23 for 31, 285 yards, a touchdown, 0 interceptions. Yiadom, 37 to 60 on almost double the snaps. 61%, so a much better completion percentage. 480 yards, so the yards weren't per play weren't much different. 6 touchdowns he allowed and 0 interceptions. Before we get into Jackson, I like Isaac Yiadom. You remember I voted for him as the most improved player of 2020. Like I just thought he was the worst starter on a good defense. And I did view him as good depth, but I think Josh Jackson is more like, we can play him in man coverage, and we don't necessarily need to hide him in a cover 3 scheme. And, so I think they're very similar in, like, talent level, if, like, just cornerback versus cornerback. But I think that had something to do with it, Justin.
Yeah, I'm very, very curious, and maybe I'll try to ask this to a beat reporter as camp kind of continues / unwinds eventually. Has Patrick Graham said anything, or has he alluded to the fact that he may want to play more man and more aggressive this year? Because this trade is another sign. There's been a lot of signs between the Giants signing Adoree Jackson, the Giants drafting Aaron Robinson, and now basically trading Akana for Akana, as Dave Gettleman says, trading 2 corners that, in retrospect, if you're not looking at the schematic point of things, and if you're just looking at, a corner for a corner, does that make any sense? Well, it does make a little sense if you do think, and if you have the theory, that Graham does want to play a little bit more man and a little bit more aggressive this year, where you're playing man coverage on the back end and then blitzing up towards the front 7 and being more aggressive on that side of the field. So it does make sense, and also it makes sense from the standpoint of, was this guy not a second-round pick, former second-round pick, who's had some highlight-worthy plays, and he just has a higher upside than Yadam, right?
Yeah, I think that's a part of it. And I do think when you're just looking at the advanced stats, stats don't tell the whole story, especially at corner. You have to remember that Patrick Graham is known for, like, a big part of why we like him is the way he was able to hide cornerback 2, which was a weakness in Isaac Yadam. So, like, yeah, you don't want to have a player where you're just kind of catering to him. Now, I did view Yadam as good depth, but Adoree Jackson was obviously a huge upgrade at that spot where you don't have to hide him. He's a good player. So, I watched some film. It was broadcast angle, so it was a little harder to watch, especially with corners. But Josh Jackson, he's just got more experience in man coverage. And he was giving up some catches, but he was a lot closer, especially on crossing routes, than Isaac Yadam would be on any man cross. I mean, the Giants didn't play man coverage really. Like, they ran man coverage like one of the bottom teams in the NFL in man coverage.
Like 30% of the time, I think.
Yeah, and a big part of that was Isaac Yadam. Like, that was a huge part of it, was because they had Isaac Yadam as a starter, and then obviously Ryan Lewis and Corey Ballantyne in other games. So I think they just view Josh Jackson as better depth, who can, if Adoree were to go down, you can put Josh Jackson in and not have to totally go back to, all right, we're playing this cover 3 bend don't break defense.
Yep. And also a little important point that's probably very minute, but it's somewhat noteworthy. Patrick Graham was the linebackers coach in Green Bay in 2018 when Josh Jackson was a rookie in Green Bay in 2018. So
10 pass breakups that year. Now, he didn't have a good year, but he did have make some plays. So I did think
he values that. He really does. I'm telling you, Graham does value guys that get pass deflections and force incompletions, where I almost feel, and again, I say it a million times, where I almost don't even feel like Graham cares that much about how many times you're targeted, but are you going to allow a big play, and can you force an incompletion? And if you can, even if a guy may perceive to be open by a quarterback, but if you can make a play on the football, Patrick Graham does not mind it. If anything, I think he welcomes it.
So with Jackson, I do view him as the first cornerback off the bench now on the outside.
I'd agree. Yeah.
Which Isaac Yadam was that before, and I think there was a lot of Rodarius Williams hype because he was having some good practice reports. But I think that first preseason game was like, okay, yeah, Isaac Yadam is ahead of Rodarius Williams, and Darnay is just not going to play outside corner. He is a nickel corner. He's not going to play outside corner in the NFL. If he does, it'll probably, put your biggest wide receiver on him and throw the ball up to him, because that's how you win versus Darnay. So yeah, as far as playing style, like I said, he's pretty good on the release. Doesn't have the greatest speed or agility, so he can He can have like good coverage, but on a crosser, it's like he kind of stands no chance against some of the better receivers. I was watching him versus DJ Shark a little bit, where it's like he didn't play. This wasn't a horrible rep, but he did give up a pass in man coverage on this one. He has 0 interceptions in the NFL, and like he had like a bunch in college. Like he had 3 versus Ohio State himself, and he tried to like bait receivers. I just don't think he has the speed to do that, and it just hasn't worked out in Green Bay. And he had a bad preseason game to start this year, and I think that might have been a little bit of the Packers wanting to move on from him. But I wonder what like a Packers podcast is saying right now. Like have you thought, like I almost want to go listen to a Packers podcast, like to hear what they're saying about adding Isaac Yadam and moving on from Josh Jackson.
Because this is so strange, because a corner for a corner trade just straight up, it almost makes me want to say...
Same contract, same age,
It almost makes me want to say, well, what do you know that I don't know? That's like the main question. Do you know something that I don't?
And you can look at it from, Patrick Graham did, work. He was the linebackers coach, but, you do get familiar with every player on each, at least the side of the ball that you're coaching.
Yeah.
I do think maybe as part of like they look at their 2020s and like Isaac Yadam's 2020 was better. And Patrick Graham may be looking at it like, yeah, Isaac Yadam's 2020 was better because I was coaching him. Not in an egotistical way, but in a way like I would rather work with a guy like Jackson who I can use a little bit of man coverage instead of trying to hide all year.
I feel like coaches always think that they can get more out of players. Patrick Graham and Giants Joe Judge, they may have said to himself, we can't get more out of Isaac Yadam, but we can get more out of Josh Jackson from what he's doing in Green Bay right now. Like the ceiling was already reached for Isaac Yadam, where I don't know if he improves more than what he did last year. but they may feel like, coaches always feel like they can improve, especially if they have their guys, right?
Which isn't cocky at all, because they're, it's a very short track record, but the track record proves it. James Bradbury, career year. Blake Martinez, best years, even at Green Bay, were with Patrick Graham. Isaac Yiadom, became like a guy you could put out there and not be a total liability. So like it's I don't think it's cocky for them to feel that way.
Yeah. What was interesting, though, kind of to maybe transition us, what was interesting, though, before they made this move, because it was not until the Giants made this move that the first move made sense that they made earlier in the week.
Here's something. We need to abolish announcing half of a trade. Because it was just like the Giants are trading Isaac Yiadom, and it's like, whoa. For what? Like we need to abolish reporters announcing half of a trade, because that's just not fair. But anyways, the Giants also made a trade the day before. They sent the Texans a 2023 6-rounder, so they still have all 10 of their draft picks for this upcoming draft, for Keion Crossen, cornerback, who spent the last 2 years with the Texans, and then 1 year with Joe Judge in New England. The scouting report for him, I watched some film on him. One, he's just got crazy speed. He's got 4.2 speed. Like he'll blow you away. He is like from what people say, is an impact player on special teams. Now he started 4 games last year at the end of the season for the Texans, and I watched him, and he's not good at corner. He's not. Now, to be fair, they were putting him in press man, maybe not press man, but like tight man coverage, and just like every rep the Texans were like doing it, and he's horrible versus the release. Like, he was getting killed off the release. And you even look at some of his advanced stats. Like, I watched the Titans game. It's like they had 3 drops where it should have been catches on him. And then one should have been a touchdown, and Ryan Tannehill just totally underthrew Corey Davis. So he plays tight man, and we can apply the same argument that Patrick Graham can get more out of him. But I don't view him as a guy who's really brought in to play corner. Like he'll be corner and he'll be corner depth, but I think this truly was a special teams move. Like Joe Judge or Dave Gettleman even brought it up when he was asked about the trade. Like he brought up special teams before he brought up anything with Keion Crossen.
Yeah, and that was honestly, if you're waiting to hear us talk about the whole Mara and Gettleman pressers, I honestly thought, and I think Bobby and we both agree, the most interesting, noteworthy part of the Dave Gettleman presser was him talking about Keion Crossen and giving insight as to actually what role he provides, which it is mostly special teams. But also, Bobby, a note that I had following the Jets preseason game, coming from the Robert Saleh and the Jets coming from that 49er Shanahan mentality of outside zone schemes, defensive backs in the corners were allowing a lot of depth in the run game where they're making plays 6, 7, 8 yards down the field, and that's not what you want. This guy, Dave Gettleman mentioned, Keion Crossen, is going to be a guy that is going to provide line of scrimmage value at the line of scrimmage value as a corner. He did mention that. Is that going to be a way where you're going to get a roster spot? I don't know, but we'll certainly see. And I thought that was the most interesting part of that Dave Gettleman presser, giving insight as to what Crossen's role is going to be.
Yeah, if he does play corner, they're going to try and use his speed. I just don't think he should play corner. Yeah, so I view this as a special teams move. Now, can we use this as another reason that Nate Ebner doesn't come back, Justin?
Yes, I would love that.
What do you think about trading a 6th-round pick for a special teams player? I don't like it. I'm sorry, I just don't. I know we joke about not talking about special teams on the podcast, but we couldn't have found someone to do that role. Wait till cut downs and stuff. It's only a 6th-rounder, so it's not something to be outraged over. But I still I just don't like the idea of trading away a draft pick for a player who's not going to play on the special teams isn't a third of the game. It's 10% of the game.
Oh,
if that.
Don't tell
because
people
kickoffs don't really count anymore. They all go through the back of the end zone. Kick returns a little bit, but that's not what Crossen was brought in for. Was kick returns. It's essentially special teams are the punt team and field goal team. And Crossen's not going to be on the field goal. He's brought in to play on the punt and punt return team.
I mean,
so it's less than 10% of the game.
Here's the other side of it, though. Would you rather the Giants? Giants took Gary Brightwell in the 6th round this year, right? So it's basically you either trade for this guy who you see something in him and he's already productive in what he's doing, or you draft Gary Brightwell.
Yeah, but also we didn't really like the Gary Brightwell pick because he's not even going to be one of the top 3 running backs.
Correct.
And also,
but their
look at
philosophy,
2020 as an example. We got two players out from the 7th round, Carter Coughlin and Tate Crowder. Like those are both guys who are going to make the team and be players out of the 7th round. And then the 6th round pick, Cam Brown, we were just praising him for being is this guy going to be a gunner? You know?
But they clearly prioritize it. Like Joe Judge is willing to spend a draft pick when he only has 6 of them. You know, Joe Judge and Dave Gettleman, they're willing to do that. So if they're going to do it, then you might as well trade that pick away and, you know, get somebody that's valuable that they know can do it for a fact.
I wish they would have used this year's pick to trade for Keion Crossen instead of drafting Gary Brightwell.
Fair. Yeah.
Because Gary Brightwell kind of looks like a wasted pick at this point. Are we going to carry 4 tailbacks and a fullback?
No, he's probably going to have to start off the year on some sort of list, or we're going to have to cut him and hope he makes the practice squad.
Because he's a bad receiving back. He's a bad blocking back, you know. He's a decent runner. He's nothing you get excited about, you know. So that one, you know, that was the one draft pick where I just was like, I don't really like this at all.
Yeah.
You know, like you can make cases for and against every draft pick. I just really couldn't make a great case for Gary Brightwell, and so far in camp, it looks like that.
I can't believe I'm defending special teams. This is like for the past week, I've been like breaking it down. And now I'm like kind of defending. Like
Joe Judge is rubbing off on us.
Oh my God, what is going on with me?
But maybe they truly view, like that's why I said like I hope. That's why I was like, oh, okay, they're trading Isaac Keion Crossen. They do view him as cornerback depth, but we'll see. And again, maybe they do view him as cornerback depth, and I'm an idiot, so we'll see. Crazy.
More corners is never a bad thing.
You know what they say? You can never have enough corners.
Kanas. You can never have enough kanas.
You know what else you can never have enough of, Justin? Money. Pacquiao, who, I mean, this is money grab at this point. Pacquiao versus Ugas, is this weekend. And DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook, has a knockout offer for the fight. Knock you out! DraftKings is offering 100-1 odds on a punch being landed at any point during the fight. Which this is a good bet because it's not Mayweather dancing around the ring. I kind of like Mayweather. Just pick the fighter you think will win, and DraftKings Sportsbook will give you 100-1 odds on a punch landing during the event. That's right. Bet $1 on either fighter, and if a punch lands during the fight, you will cash in $100 in free credits. I'm going to watch this fight. There's no better way to put your boxing knowledge to the test than to put your money where your mouth is with DraftKings. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code JOHNBOY when you sign up to turn $1 to $100 in free credits when you bet on either fighter to win and a punch is landed during the fight. Place your bet and watch the fists fly this weekend. That's code JOHNBOY to turn $1 into $100 in free credits. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. You know Danny's gotten me back into fighting.
Physically fighting people? Or
no, like watching like UFC and boxing, you know.
Because I can see Danny influencing you both ways.
Well, yeah. But I used to only watch the big fights, you know, like the big events. Now it's like, if there's like a moderately sized fight, I'm watching it because of, you know, Danny King and his ESPN Plus account.
Danny King also gave me his Disney Plus account that I have yet to log into.
We also use his PFF. We use his PFF account. Danny's the account guy.
I guess he is.
I have a Draft Network account that only I use, but I give you guys the passwords for. Actually, Danny uses it too. All right, Justin. Anything else going on the next week that we should look out for?
No.
Before we kick it to Dan Duggan.
No. I'm excited. I'm gonna say something.
I'm talking about your announcement. I was actually saying.
Yes. I'm gonna save my apprehension about the team for another time. But yes, so this upcoming week, next week, and the 2 exact dates are August 25th and August 26th, Wednesday and Thursday. Snacks and I, Nikki Snacks, co-host of Bleeding Blue and friend of the program, Nikki Snacks and I are headed up to Foxborough, Massachusetts, thanks to Manscaped, by the way. Thank you to Manscaped. They're helping us pay for the trip. Wouldn't happen without them. We are going up to Foxborough, Massachusetts to see and witness, watch, react, and talk about the 2 joint practices between the New York Football Giants and the New England Patriots. So we're going up there. Snacks and I will be up there for a couple days, And couldn't be done without Manscaped. So thank you to Manscaped for making it happen.
Do you plan on getting in any trouble?
It is a goal of Snacks and I to be asked not to come back to Massachusetts / New England.
I need a Justin Pennick mugshot to sell merch with.
Okay.
Like, we need to get you arrested for something resisting arrest without violence. That's a very small crime. You'll spend the night in jail. You get your nice little mugshot, and it's like nothing will really come out of it.
And I don't know, in Massachusetts, I got to do it in a state that doesn't have bail. Because I am not a flight risk and because I don't have a previous record, I probably would just be released right away.
I didn't realize, you told me that the other day, that, New York or New Jersey doesn't have bail?
No. So if you
That's
don't
insane.
have a record, and if you're not a flight risk, then you could basically be arrested and then most likely released.
Yeah, no bail. That's crazy. Just wild. But I need a Justin Pennick mugshot badly. So.
Okay. Snacks and I are going to have a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, so you guys will be doing stuff, videos. We're going to be live streaming after both practices.
On YouTube.
So the practices that are 10 o'clock noon, what do you think we should live stream, 1:30 maybe?
Or I don't even know what I don't even know what times they were. Or are they those times?
I believe they're at 10 o'clock. So
10 a.m.?
Yeah.
The hell?
Bro, the rise and grind. That's not even that early. You're acting like I said 7 a.m. So it'll be interesting. Maybe you can call into WEEI.
WEEI.
Maybe Tim from Florida will call into WEEI.
I would love that.
So we'll see. All right. Dan Duggan of The Athletic. All right, we now welcome back onto the program of The Athletic, New York Giants beat reporter Dan Duggan. Dan, how are you, and how is your time in Cleveland so far?
I'm good. Yeah, just wrapping up here. The later practices out here, so a little later finish. I haven't even been to my hotel yet. It was a nice 4:15 wake-up call to get out here today, and been a pretty action-packed, fun first day. I got a few more days out here in lovely Cleveland, Berea area.
Yeah, it looks like when the Giants players were coming off the bus on their social media posts, it looks like they were in some summer camp, village almost.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We're doing this on video. I know the podcast listeners will be screwed, but I mean, I'll show you. There's literally a house right outside. I don't know if you can see that. There's a house right outside their practice facility. I guess this must be relatively new, and they're literally trying to buy the block and just bulldoze these houses so they can really make a big facility. But it's really kind of wedged in a little neighborhood here. Definitely kind of a random spot for it.
Yeah, it looks like it has some those little portable classrooms that we used to have in high school. So that's interesting. All right, but we'll get right into it. And this has been the topic of the Giants so far in preseason and training camp. The depth on the offensive line, which funny coming into camp. I had a talking points the depth is actually all right. The issue is the depth is so close to the starters. You had over 300 starts out of your backups, but then Zach Fulton's gone. Looney's gone. Kenny Wiggins doesn't look great. Is there going to be a trade or what for an offensive lineman? Because Joe Judge, who usually doesn't let you guys in on a ton of behind the scenes stuff, basically said yeah, we're adding somebody, but they haven't added someone since then.
Yeah, no, that was a little out of character, like you said, for him, because he really just heavily intimated they're going to add somebody. So I think that they're just sort of hanging back right now because, listen, they had a first round of cuts where everyone cut basically the bottom 5 players on their roster. So it wasn't like there was going to be a flood of great talent in that round of cuts. Next week, there'll be another 5 guys. So again, you're still not really getting into the guys who are, really fighting for roster spots. So, if they add one of those guys right now, is that going to be any better than Kenny Wiggins or Jonathan Harrison? Probably not. And then, as far as a trade, I'm sure teams around the league aren't really eager to dispatch if they have a little surplus of offensive line talent right now, because listen, we're still a couple weeks away from the season. There's really no reason to rush a trade. Say the Cleveland Browns are a good example. They have a pretty deep offensive line, but what if Joel Bitonio gets hurt or, Jack Conklin gets hurt? Well, all of a sudden you don't want to say, oh, well, at least we got a 4th round pick next year by giving up some of our depth. So I think teams are going to hang on a little bit, maybe try and drive the price up by waiting closer to the season. So I think really the sense I got from Gettleman was more, they're probably waiting till after final cuts, unless someone really quality shakes free. I mean, they knew who was on the street right now. Obviously nothing that got them to act. So I think that, that's how it typically goes. After the cuts to 53, there is a little more quality out there. But then, we're talking depth. I think it'd be hard to sign somebody, a week or two before the season starts and expect them to start. So I think that's probably part of why they feel like they can be patient, because there'll be more talent to come in a couple of weeks.
Any insight on Austin Reiter? I know that kind of, died down after him visiting a couple of weeks ago, and he visited with some other teams. Is it just simply like he wants more money than the minimum and like a starting spot guaranteed, or what?
Yeah, I don't really know fully from his side. I can't say I've done a ton of digging on that. I definitely saw that he visited, and then right around the same time they signed Looney, so it kind of felt like maybe that the Giants had moved on. But yeah, I mean, he hasn't signed anywhere, so it's pretty logical to conclude a guy with his resume is probably waiting for more of a assured starting spot, or probably B, just a little more money. Like, if the Giants say, hey, I'll give you a veteran minimum contract, you might say, well, why am I going to jump at that to go be a backup? I can wait. Someone gets hurt. All of a sudden, the Logan Ryan type situation where the demand goes up, the price tag goes up. So I would assume he's a guy that'll sign, a week or two before the season when a team's a little more desperate. Will that team be the Giants? I don't think so. But you can't close that door completely, because I haven't heard one way or the other there.
Right. Well, the trade they did do was Isaac Yiadom for Josh Jackson, which I still think I mispronounce his name every time. What was one? I'm fascinated by how that conversation goes when it's both two guys the same age, same position, both expiring deals. How you try and sell that to the other team when there's like, oh, well, we think this guy's better, but we want him. Like, what was? Do you know what the reasoning behind that was? Because Yiadom, I thought, was just he was the worst starter on a good defense and was viewed as good depth. Is it? I mean, I guess it sounds simple, but is it simple as they just thought Josh Jackson was better or better scheme fit or what?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you got a good front office and pro personnel department, they should be making these phone calls and talking to their friends and, people in the network all around the league. So, I assume they have to be kind of blunt with each other. Like, listen, maybe they said, hey, I like Yiadom, and maybe they said they like Jackson. I said, well, listen, you're not going to make our 53. Like, let's talk here. And, clearly each side, liked the other guy, a little bit better than what they had. But I think, basically you're looking at neither team was going to keep the guy. So they could cut him or they can try and get some value. But it is weird. You don't usually see like kind of depth guy traded for depth guy. You usually see more like the Keion Crossen where it's, a future late round pick. Even when Yiadom, the trade first broke, we didn't have the terms. I was like, probably like a 7th round pick like they got for him, like they gave up for him last year. So yeah, definitely a little surprising. Presumably, Pat Graham was in Green Bay. So, all roads kind of lead back to some connections with a lot of these moves. He was there for Jackson's rookie year. You would think he has some idea of, a way that maybe he can fit him in. But there's no guarantee he makes the roster. But I just think that they must feel like he has a higher upside than Yiadom. And Joe Judge even said today, sort of was giving Yiadom a good opportunity to make a team, because they probably knew he was not going to make it here. I guess he was a good guy. So give him a shot to catch on with the team that likes him and give him a few weeks to make an impression.
Right. Does the Crossen trade give Giants fans like myself hope that Nate Ebner's not coming back, or do we just need to live with that he is coming back whenever he's fully healthy?
I mean, I think if it's like a cloudy day, you take that as a sign that Nate Ebner might not be back.
Yeah. I've done like there's been like 5 different moves this offseason. Like, does this point to Nate Ebner not coming back?
Right. I mean, again, Judge pretty much on the record said, like, we have a spot waiting for Nate. Now, I don't know where exactly he is on his rehab, but he's not a guy who needs to, get in here and be in the playbook. He's done this stuff for a million years, not a very complex role. So I would assume as soon as he's healthy, there is a spot waiting for him. I think maybe Crossen would be either insurance or just, hey, you can have 2 good, specialists. But no, I think the only question there is Ebner's health. If he's healthy, it's abundantly clear that they want him back and he will be back. But I don't know, maybe it's like a Kyle Rudolph situation where we all think he's closer to being healthy than he actually is. And maybe it doesn't happen before the season. But my gut still says he'll be back here and he'll be running down kickoffs on opening day.
Right. So you mentioned Rudolph. He hasn't practiced. Aaron Robinson, he hasn't practiced either. I'm just going heavy with the cornerback questions. It's like my least favorite position to talk about, but I'm hitting you heavy with it. Is the IR or PUP or whatever to start the season likely? Because, especially for a rookie, it just seems like he's not coming back anytime soon from the outside.
Yeah, listen, I have to play, armchair, doctor, where I'm just looking at what guys are doing. And he's just doing so little on the side that as a rookie, it's hard to figure he'll be up to speed and ready to play in week 1. So then it gets to a point of just roster wise, does it make sense to carry him on the 53? I think they put these guys on PUP for a reason. It's sort of insurance that if guy isn't ready for week 1, you can just leave him there for the first 6 weeks and he doesn't take up a roster spot. That has a little less appeal now where you have the IR rules where it's only 3 weeks. So if they think he'll be ready before week 6, maybe they carry him on the initial 53, then put him on IR, and he's, eligible to come back in week 4. So you're not, losing quite as much time. I think that's probably even more likely with Rudolph, again, assuming these guys are even that close. I don't know. I mean, they don't do anything at practice. Like, there's guys on the side who are running and doing conditioning and stuff. Rudolph and Robinson do very little of that. I mean, they do some. So maybe they're going to need the 6 weeks from the pup anyways. But I'd be very surprised just based on the work that they have or have not done if either one of those guys is ready for the start of the season. So then it just becomes sort of juggling the roster and what makes the most sense in terms of kind of stashing them, but getting them back with, as much of the season left as possible.
So speaking of, Toilolo got hurt. Rudolph's not there. We were prepared for them to carry 4 tight ends. Now they have 2 who were basically lost to rocks with Ingram and Caden. Who's like the third guy that's kind of put himself ahead to be like, if Rudolph's not ready to go week 1 to make the roster?
Yeah, it's definitely been Cole Hikutini. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's a mouthful, but and it's funny because he looked terrible like the first week of camp. You watched, like, he just was dropping balls and just didn't look good at all. And then all of a sudden, Toilolo goes down, and kind of someone had to be that next guy. And he has a history of Jason Garrett a little bit from Dallas, so he was sort of the next guy up because their other tight ends are all super young and really like no NFL experience. And he's looked pretty good. I mean, he's not. You're not gonna say, "Oh my gosh, how do they discover Cole Hikutini?" But he looks like a serviceable third tight end, which is really all you're looking for. But he's been banged up. He left the first preseason game with a hip injury. I was focused more on the defense today. They got 2 fields going simultaneously, so you can only see so much. But some of the reporters who are watching the offense reported that he left today hobbled. So I don't know. That position is mighty thin. Not a lot of experience. Obviously, you're hoping and expecting Rudolph comes back at some point. But I don't think we thought we were sitting here in August talking about like Levine Toilolo being a significant injury. But it just goes to show how quickly depth can kind of disappear in a position. And that's certainly a position if Rudolph isn't going to be ready, you could see them probably, scanning the waiver wire, cut down day. Tim Tebow's out there. There's plenty of options.
I'd be down for it. I don't even care. The chaos would be fun at this point. For
Oh my gosh. But no, serious note, yeah, I mean, that's a position where you would think maybe they might have to bring a guy in just at least to hold him over until Rudolph is ready.
Nate Solder looks like he's slimmed down. I feel like he could just be the 4th tight end or whatever they want to use. I think he did that in college a little bit.
Yeah.
Going back to the O-line, if they do want to add someone who, not going to spend like $10 million a year, but if they want to add someone, they're really low on cap space right now. They already restructured Bradbury and Blake. Leonard, like some of their most recent big contracts are just signed. What is something they could do to finagle the cap if they really wanted to?
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to really look into that. I was more plugged into that in the offseason. It's kind of faded a little bit. I mean, there's guys like Yadam was a guy who actually had like a higher salary and they had him take a pay cut. Like a guy like Dante Pettis is, probably counts like 1 and change. So if you cut him, you save a couple $100,000. But you can do those types of moves. A veteran that maybe is on the bubble, you cut and you save a couple $100,000. Maybe that starts to add up. But if you're talking about trying to make any sort of splash, they have like no room right now. It's like $2.5 million. Any sort of splash, you'd have to do a restructure. And again, you said they've already kind of exhausted the obvious options there. Logan Ryan, Sterling Shepard, those are guys who have kind of big money that you can move around. But do you really want to be, moving, big money down the road on a 30-year-old safety's contract, or Shepard, who a guy who, I think he's a good player, he's a good piece, but they have some flexibility with him down the road. Do you want to kind of bite into that? So that I think that's, sort of where they're hamstrung here. Like, yeah, you can keep signing veteran offensive linemen like Ted Larson to veteran minimum contracts. That doesn't move the needle, but I just don't know how they can move the needle because they just really don't have much to offer, quote unquote quality offensive linemen. Not that there's a lot of those around either.
Yeah, it's I actually watched Ted Larson's. He played half the game versus Washington in the playoffs, and he gave up 2 sacks, and I was still like, he's better than Kenny Wiggins, which was just depressing to see. But he's my player to watch for this next preseason game. Just overall, how has Jones looked in camp? Because it's you guys aren't allowed to post a bunch of video, and you get mixed reports. Some people say he's great, some people horrible. Usually, it probably means he's in the middle. Like, how do you, if you were a fan there, how would you feel about Jones going into year 3?
Yeah, no, it's funny. I mean, I sometimes I come out of those practices and I see what other people like tweet, and I'm like, wow, I feel like I wasn't watching the same practice. I mean, I had to laugh though. The other day, he got like people talking about how he had like 6 touchdown passes. They were literally doing one-on-one drills from the 5-yard line. Like, yeah, you should probably rack up the touchdowns in those drills, but that's a topic for another day. But I think he's been fine. Like, I mean, I can't sit here and give you like this ring endorsement, like, oh my goodness, he looks like a different guy. Like, he's just carving it up every day. And he also hasn't been terrible. You know, it's not like he's throwing it to, interceptions every practice and just looks lost. He looks fine. I mean, my thing on him is from rookie minicamp on, he's always looked the part. Like, he looks good, the kind of cliche, looks good in shorts and a t-shirt. He throws a good ball. He's not throwing picks left and right. The question is just how is he going to handle a live pass rush when it's, Von Miller and Bradley Chubb in week 1? And, we don't know that answer, can't know that answer. Today, again, I focus on the defense, and I saw other people reporting that the offense looked pretty good at times. It didn't look good those 2 periods where they brought the whole team to one field and went at it. And he didn't look great there through an interception. And the other series wasn't his fault. Slayton had a drop. The defender made a good play on a deep ball to Ingram, and there was an incompletion to Shepard where he was tightly covered. So I saw 6 offensive plays, and one of them was a completion, one of them was an interception, one of them was a sack, and 3 were incomplete. So it wouldn't be a great report for me today, but that's only 6 passes I saw. And it's tough to do like the daily updates. I mean, I think you kind of know what he is at this point. You want to see him take a step forward. But if anyone's thinking he looks drastically better or drastically worse, no. I mean, he looks more or less the same. You just hope that, on game days this year, he eliminates some of the kind of backbreaking mistakes, makes a few more big plays based on the scheme or the talent he has around him, and that's kind of what you're looking for. I don't think anyone should expect to see like some dramatically different quarterback take the field this fall.
Someone who should help him is Kadarius Toney. What are they hiding about Kadarius Toney? Because it just doesn't make sense that he's taking this long to like, they seem like they kind of had ramped him back up, and then it's like they've almost shut him down the past week.
Yeah, and that one's been weird. I mean, like, Judge have been pretty tight-lipped on that. I've heard it's still kind of related to the COVID, which is strange. I haven't like fully like nailed that down. So we're just me and you talking here. But no, I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know that he had pulled a hamstring or some, injury. So I don't know if it's just a conditioning thing where he had to quarantine for 10 days and that set him back, and maybe he's starting to build up and something felt tight. I don't know. I think it's all still related to the COVID though. Again, I don't think he has like an acute injury where he like pulled something. I could be wrong in that, but it was very strange because like you said, he was ramping up, and then he really slowed it down and really hasn't done anything now. Now he's back, with the rehab guys on the side, just, doing some running and stuff. I mean, he looks fine. Again, that's why I don't think he has like a really significant injury. But yeah, I mean, time's ticking here. And you kind of hear from not so much Judge, but talking to Thomas McGahee, talking to Jason Garrett, talking to Tyke Tolbert when they spoke to the media last week or earlier this week, you kind of sense a little frustration, probably just a strong word, but like, let's go. Like, it's kind of hard. You're asking me what this guy, we haven't seen him do anything. So it's kind of hard for them to say, oh, we're going to count on him. I think the plan always was to bring him along slowly. But I mean, I think it's going to be even slower now. I mean, he's going to be very slowly probably working into this offense, very, small packages to begin. And then you hope by like mid-season, maybe things can expand. But I would definitely temper expectations just because we just haven't seen anything to indicate, otherwise really at this point.
Right. Yeah. It's from the outside in. It's just like, I have no clue what's going on. I'll finish off with this. Why do you think the Browns are like the best run organization in the NFL? You just think they're so great. What's the deal with that?
I can't believe it took this long to get to this. I thought when you said
figured we wait till the end, and
I think when you said the story of the day, I thought it was going to be my mentions this morning because I haven't really got the juices flowing. Like, I feel like the Giants fan base has been kind of milquetoast this camp, and I guess I poked the hornet's nest. I think it's just because everyone looks at the Browns, but like, it's objectively true that in 2018 the Browns had the first pick, the Giants had the second pick. If you measure the two teams since then, I mean, the Browns have done a better job. I didn't even know that was like considered a take. And I mean, obviously the Giants have been a more successful franchise over the last 2 decades. Over the last, however, back to the Paul Brown days, have been better since then. And maybe the Giants will be better this year and the Browns will crash back to earth. But if you just look at how the teams have built the last couple of years, I know a lot of Giants fans want to throw in 2017. Yeah, sure. I mean, they got Myles Garrett. That was huge guy to add to your team. But they also won one game over that 2-year span, so it's not like they had this really great foundation to build around. So yes, Myles Garrett, big piece, definitely an advantage. But the Giants have had some high picks, and they haven't found any Myles Garrett's or really even a Denzel Ward type impact player. So Browns have, I went through their whole roster and they've drafted really well, and high picks helps, but you still got to hit on those. They made really good free agent signings. Like Jack Conklin was, not thought of as like this big time signing, I feel like. And I think he was the first team All-Pro last year. They made the trade for the guard, Wyatt Teller. I got that right.
Yeah.
That was a home run trade. I mean, they traded like a 5th and a 6th to get him in a 7th, and he was like playing at a Pro Bowl level last year. I mean, they've just done a really good job. And again, like, I'm not basing this on like my gut feeling. I mean, they won 11 games last year. That's good. The Giants won 6? That's not very good. So I didn't think that was gonna stir up the fan base, but you never know. It's good to see the passion coming back, though. I feel like things have been a little too quiet, so it's good to get the juices flowing.
I know, especially like we didn't get to see much of the starters in preseason, so it's always good. Well, we had a little passion going with the beginning of like I think it's just every training camp we're gonna do is Joe Judge a tyrant week in the media, and that doesn't come from you guys. That's always just like a national thing.
Right. So that kind of felt like we're doing this again. Like, yeah, because I feel like last year, I think even the local guys at first were kind of like, whoa. But I didn't feel like, the local beat really jumped onto this year, but still it gained legs, and it was it fills some of those segments on First Take or wherever else, because it still gets the people fired up, I guess.
Yeah, I like seeing the Giants fan base just galvanized versus the national media. I jump in on that when I can. I like to get on your guys' side for the most part. But it was good. Dan, thank you for coming on. Where can people find your work? I know The Athletic, you guys are always offering good deals, and you always put out good stuff. Where can people find you, follow you, and read you?
Yeah, definitely Athletic, and I'm just guessing here we'll probably have some sort of promotion for the start of the football season. So definitely, if you're not subscribed already, I would stay tuned. And then certainly Twitter, you can find those Skip Bayless takes on the Browns, Duggan 21. I'll be out here for the joint practice on Friday, so a good time to follow along. We, as kind of mentioned during this, we can shoot more video here, so a little more content coming your way. And we're getting down to the nitty gritty. Semi-season starting before you know it, so definitely jump on board with Twitter, with Athletic, and my semi-regular current appearances on this podcast.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm asking all the beat guys to babysit Justin and Snacks next week in New England. So help us out with that. You scratch our back, we scratch yours. All right, Dan, thanks.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, thank you to Dan Duggan for coming on to the program as always. And before we get talking about a mini Cleveland Giants preview, we got to talk about Roman. Now that the world is opening back up, so many new thrills are on the horizon, Bobby Skinner. And whether you've been in a relationship for years, fun fact, I actually am the reason why Snacks and his girlfriend of a long time broke up about last year, or you're just excited to get back out there and meet new people. When the moment comes, you want to be ready. Roman ready. Go to GetRoman.com/Jomboy now to talk to a U.S. licensed healthcare professional. If you have some ED problems, get that taken care of, fellas. Fellas, you want to get that taken care of. GetRoman.com/Jomboy will help you out. You get a free online evaluation, ongoing care for erectile dysfunction, all from the comfort and the privacy of your home. Getting started is simple. Go to GetRoman.com/Jomboy. Take care of your ED. Don't even leave your home. Don't leave your home. I wish I didn't leave my home today. I went to the Bronx. I had to get something. I stayed for too long, and I wish I never left home. It's 9:30 at night, and we're still recording a podcast. Go to GetRoman.com/Jomboy. Make sure you're ready, and you have the confidence to end the summer, and as we head into fall. Roman ready. Thank you, Roman.
Get your man. Okay. So the Giants play the Browns on Sunday. A Sunday 1:00 preseason game. When's the last time the Giants played a day preseason game? I remember
Never.
The Bills game was started in the day and ended at night.
Never.
A few years ago. But it's been a long... Like, the last time I watched a Sunday day preseason game was, I remember Tim Tebow on the Eagles. And
Fun.
I was like, I'm gonna watch Tim Tebow. All right. So we're doing our 4 players to watch. We'll each do one offensive, one defensive. And I think because we're going to expect the stars to play a little more, Like, this is very important. And I wanted to do Matt Peart as one, but I'm going to do a different offensive lineman. Ted Larson. Now, this signing we kind of brushed over because it would happen on the day of a Fan Fest. You know, they had him out there, and then we're getting ready for the preseason game, and then we're recapping preseason game. And so this kind of got, overlooked because he didn't play in the preseason. But Ted Larson is 34 years old. He started 88 games in the NFL at left guard, center, and right guard. So he's moved all over. Didn't play in 2020. And then in December, the Bucs signed him. The Bucs signed him on the practice squad, but they were bringing him up to the active roster with the new practice squad rules. He played in one game. He played in the second half of the wild card game versus Washington. Now, I'm going to say this. He looked better than what Kenny Wiggins looked like versus the Jets the other night. Here's the issue, Justin. He got swammed 3 times by Daron Payne and gave up 2 sacks. Maybe one you could blame on somebody else because it was play action zone and it could have been the tackle's fault, but it was bad. But in the run game, he looked much better than Kenny Wiggins. And even in the pass game, giving up those sacks, he looked better than what Kenny Wiggins did. So like I said, he was thrown in there, didn't get to start that game. So Ted Larson is my guy to watch because somebody needs to step up on the backups. As of now, there is no backup interior offensive or backup guard. Jonathan Harrison, I think, is a fine backup center. Hopefully we'll get to see him on Sunday. But right now, Kenny Wiggins can't. He's with the starting lineup because they're probably going to take it easier with Shane Lemieux. But Kenny Wiggins can't be the first guy off the bench. And maybe they'll add somebody, but at this point, they haven't. So Ted Larson is my guy to watch, to step up and show that you can be a competent backup. I'm not expecting him to be a good good player, but just be a competent backup because that Kenny Wiggins is not. Like I said, he looked better than what Kenny Wiggins did last week. In a playoff game versus a very good defensive line in Washington. Like I said, he got swammed 3 times. 1.5 sacks. I could say you gave up, but he didn't get beat. Besides that. He handled himself well versus the bull rush. In the run game, he was doing working his combos well and getting to the second level. He looked didn't look a lot more athletic, but he looked more athletic than Kenny Wiggins. So somebody needs to step up on this interior offensive line. Joe Looney retired. Zach Fulton retired. Kenny Wiggins ain't it. So Ted Larson, you're 34 years old. You got 88 career starts in the NFL. You are now the second most experienced offensive lineman on this roster. Step up and show that you should be on an NFL roster and make it to where you're not cut 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, if Larson can kind of show out and have some good camp practices and some good preseason appearances, then maybe the Giants' task of finding interior offensive line depth/help gets a lot easier when it comes down to we're cutting down to 53-man rosters, because that's really when I do anticipate whether the Giants make some sort of trade, but the fact that they are cap-stricken may prevent them from making a trade, or they're just going to be very, very active when it comes to when the rosters are cut down to 53. I am anticipating that almost no matter what, but Ted Larson can make the conversation or can make the effort, maybe not as much as an emergency, which is a goal. So Ted Larson, good player to watch out for. My offensive player to watch out for is going to be Cole Hikutini. Cole Hikutini, he got hurt last week against the Jets with the hip injury. He also got hurt on Thursday's practice versus the Browns, so he may not even play, but I hope he does play because, the starters are going to play a little bit more this preseason game, Bobby, so we may see a healthy dose of Evan Ingram and Caden Smith, but right now, Cole Hikutini is third on the depth chart when it comes to our tight ends. Levine Toilolo is out for the year, and Kyle Rudolph is still hurt. So Cole Hikutini, there's a chance where if Rudolph is starting the year off on some sort of list, Cole Hikutini is going to make this team.
Dan Duggan talked about him in the interview earlier.
Jordan Ronan, we talked about him last week with Cole Hikutini, how the dude has just kind of been everywhere, and he has been getting some situational first-team reps. So if he can play on Sunday, show out. Hopefully we get a little bit more consistent quarterback play too. So let's see it, big dog.
Yeah, he ran that Caden Smith tight end, H-back role in that power O play. The nice Corey Clement run. He was the lead blocker in that, and he didn't do as good of a job as Caden does, but he did a good job. So yeah, Cole Hikutini. I remember when they signed Cole Hikutini and Zach Rosenblatt was like, I'm waiting for the Bobby Skinner film breakdown, and I gave you some stats on it. All of his catches in his career on third down, they all came versus the NFC East. When he was with the Cowboys, it was versus the Eagles. When he was with the 49ers, it was versus the Cowboys. So yeah, Cole Hicatini Martini. All right, defensive player. Now I switched this. I was gonna go with Tay Crowder because I'm like Carter Coughlin hype is real. We talked about Carter Coughlin last week. Hold off the Carter Coughlin hype. So Tay Crowder is a guy to watch for me. But here's mine. Azeez Ojulari. I'm going with a starter. Azeez Ojulari. Jedrick Wills. I think Mekhi Becton is a better player than Jedrick Wills. Like I'm a big fan of Mekhi Becton. Mekhi, besides that one rep that Azeez won, Mekhi Becton handled Azeez Ojulari. You know, but just that's Mekhi Becton. You know, he's big as hell. He's athletic, and he's like he's a mountain. They call him Mount Becton for a reason. Jedrick Wills can be beaten. You know, like I want to see Azeez Ojulari. Jedrick Wills is only in his second year. Azeez Ojulari. I want to see him win some reps versus Jedrick Wills. Jedrick Wills can have embarrassing reps. They didn't get noticed as much because, the Cleveland was a pretty good team last year. And, like, he started off pretty good. But Jedrick Wills is very capable of having bad reps. So I want to see Azeez Ojulari win a few reps versus Jedrick. Like, embarrass him on one rep. And I'm not talking about, like, that play versus Mekhi Becton. That was a good rep. It wasn't an embarrassing rep. But, set his ass up outside and bam, hit him inside. Jedrick can do that. He can overset. So Azeez Ojulari, man, if you're gonna, you're gonna be a starter. Jedrick Wills should be a really good tackle in this league, but he is young. You're both from the SEC. You led the SEC in sacks. Go out there and grab a sack versus Jedrick Wills or versus Jack Conklin, who is not the greatest pass blocker in the world.
Yeah, that Lorenzo Carter apparently had a really good day on Thursday, which I love to see. There was a clip where he was chasing down Baker Mayfield, and it would have been a would-be sack. So having Azeez go out there and have a good game on Sunday is kind of key, because especially he's been a little bit quiet. Obviously made that really good play against Mekhi Becton on Sunday, and he had that one good rep. So Azeez Ojulari, let's do it. My defensive player. I initially was going to say Raymond Johnson, but I changed it, because we already talked about Raymond Johnson. I think Raymond Johnson's going to stand out no matter what. But let's go to the secondary. Mondre Harper just had Josh Jackson was just traded here, and Keion Crossen. 2 corners added to the roster this week. Mondre Harper, kind of got the guy on the outside looking in right now, because you have your starters. Aaron Robinson, obviously, may start off the year on some sort of pup list. But Rodarius Williams is a draft pick. And when you add 2 corners, Harper may be on the outside looking in. And I actually had somebody come up to me in the parking lot last week, which was kind of absurd. And he's like, I like to look at cornerback play, and I was a cornerback myself. And I like Mondre Harper. He's a physical guy. So go out there, have a good game, Mondre Harper. I guess I'll be looking out for some secondary play this week. He's a savage. Go out, have a good week.
He's also a name searcher, which me and Mr. Chicken found out.
Shout out Mr. Chicken.
And then he deletes his tweets right afterwards. Mondre Harper. So yeah, Mondre Harper, just an insane human being. I love him. You think he's going to get cut or make the roster?
I'm leaning right now towards getting cut, but go out there, have a good game, and got a pick. Show us something.
Yeah, I want to see an interception really badly. Like, we should see some interceptions in preseason football. So let's get an interception. And first Baker Mayfield would be beautiful. How about that? So get us an interception. I want to see a more exciting preseason game. Like that Jets one sucked. That was a bad preseason football game. And, in 2019, every single preseason game was exciting. There was plays on offense and defense. That one was the most boring preseason game of all time. So I want to see some excitement. So I'm looking at you, Brian Lewerke, your new QB, wearing number 6 for the New York Giants. I'm looking at you, Mike Glennon, and hell, I'm even looking at you, Daniel Jones, too. And that, Daniel Jones, go out there and look good. We're not relying on practice clips. We're going to see some actually film of you. I think he's going to play. So, Daniel Jones looked good. Speaking of Mondre Harper being a name searcher, Curtis Riley is also a name searcher.
Yeah. He can go away for all I care.
Want me to go at him?
Why not?
What should I reply to him right now?
He is the most
he's
self-centered.
insecure.
He is the most self-centered, egotistical maniac that I've ever come across in my entire life. And egotistical, and he's not even good.
Yeah, I know. That's the
like
crazy
I'm
thing
an
is he's
egotistical
really bad.
person. I'm an egotistical person. I view myself very good at what I do. He's terrible at what he does. Yet he is so self-centered.
What should I say back to him?
I think you should say exactly that. You are terrible at what you do, yet you are one of the most self-centered individuals I've ever come across.
That's
now,
a
that's
little
at least
too
what
serious.
I would say. It does. That's what I would say. That's not you. That's not your vibe. That's not your voice.
How about just I will smack you?
There you go. That's better. That's your voice.
Does he have like a brother or something I can make fun of?
So I'm not going to give
Is
context.
he still a free agent?
I hope so. His banner picture is still his fucking picture. Oh, excuse me. His banner picture is still his picture with the Giants. So loser. You've been
he's on the Bucks right now.
Oh, you've been on 3 NFL teams. You can't find a new banner picture?
All right, I'm gonna say no. I say no. It's tough for you getting cut every time, or getting cut around this time every year. Around this time every year. Hope it works out in Tampa. All love. So it's going to be like a very backhanded compliment.
Oh, good.
He's too stupid to even understand it.
There you go. I'm not feeding into him. And I refuse to feed milk into my mouth.
All right, that's an episode. We'll be back on Monday, recapping the preseason game. We appreciate you guys. Until then, let's go Big Boo.